Welcome back to another weather forecast here by HWRF forecast, and I do apologize for the later video. I actually got home a lot later than expected here, but in this video we're going to be talking about the Atlantic as it could be waking up here. We have a disturbance here with a 60% chance in the next 5 days, and another disturbance with a 30% chance in the next 5 days, and obviously we have Tropical Storm Nana. Now hurricane warnings have been issued for the central portion of the Central American coast, including Belize and even portions of the Guatemala coast there, as Nana does approach those areas and could make landfall very, very soon, but won't be a hurricane like I expected. But we are going to be possibly seeing hurricane gust. Also, going to be talking about as well now Tropical Depression 15L. Omar is now Tropical Depression here, and it's going to be gradually weakening as it goes into cooler water. So we're going to be basically just watching as Nana makes landfall, and also going to be seeing those two disturbances. Could they become something, as they are going to some favorable MDR conditions? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. Looking at the conditions, the timing and cone for Nana, and all that. But before we get to the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button and the post notification icon. So here is a look now at the 5-day tropical weather outlook, and as you see, actually, for some reason, National Hurricane Center still has it as Omar, but it is a tropical depression here at 35 miles an hour and 1,005 millibars, and it is now still moving east at 14 miles an hour, so it hasn't really increased in speed, but I do expect it as it does become post-tropical to really just blow up in speed there. As you see here we have Nana, still the tropical storm at 60 miles an hour. It is continuing to fall apart as drier has gone into it and it interacted with land sooner, which I did say this would not be a hurricane because it would be interacting with land very soon because it's moving too fast here. As you see, it's moving 15 miles an hour though, so it has kind of slowed down 2 miles an hour, but obviously that's actually worse in its case because it's going to be interacting with land even longer. But yeah, this won't be a hurricane. I said it from the start that a hurricane really wasn't super likely in my opinion. But we still do have hurricane warnings there. But you see 60 miles an hour, so it was a decent tropical storm. We'll see if it has any really last energy in it to maybe go to 65 miles an hour, but I really think it's going to just gradually see at 60 and then weaken from there on. But it's at 999 millibars, may drop a couple millibars if it can try to it can try to close off that dry air. But yeah, and here we have the two disturbances here. One that just came off Africa, now already at a 60% chance for the next 5 days and a 20% chance in the next 48 hours. That's going to be very interesting here because it could be really going to some decent waters here. Obviously, we've had a lot of these MDR systems kind of be down here, but this one's actually pretty far up here, but it's going to be kind of gradually making its west. So going to be possibly watching out maybe for Caribbean, maybe a Caribbean system as well. Obviously, it's too far to see whether it'll hit the U.S. or anything like that, but based on where this circle is, or this general highlighted area for potential formation, it's going to be possibly being definitely a threat to land if it does get its act together here and form like the National Hurricane Center has a 60% chance for. And then we have another disturbance here. This one actually has a 30% chance in the next 5 days, but a 20% chance in the next 48 hours. And as you see, it's a very closed in area for where this could form here. So that's actually leading to the possibility, well, maybe if it's going to form, it's going to form not too far from where it is now, because I mean it's pretty closed off. I mean it can form pretty fast if you think about the location if it forms, because it could be a very slow moving low pressure here, broad area of low pressure, probably very, very slow mover. And the fact that it has a 30% for 5 days and already a 20% chance for 48 hours, that's something to keep in mind here. But we're going to possibly watch out if this just diminishes and doesn't become anything, or if it continues to increase in probability. So here's a look now at the convection here, what we have on looking at Nana here. And as you see, it is basically getting almost extremely close now to making landfall. Not going to make landfall potentially for the southern Belize coast, even portion of Guatemala, even Honduras. You guys can possibly get more impacts here. I believe Honduras is as well under hurricane warning, but as you see, a lot of convection really blowing up. Like I'm saying, maybe it could have a little bit fire left in its tank here. but it's getting extremely close to land, so it would have to do it now. But as you see, it's kind of seems like that convection in the center is trying to really open up now. As you see, it was kind of rather closed off, and it seems like it's being disturbed here. It seems like it's being disturbed right here. Something is disturbing it on that portion of the western low pressure, but it has a good amount of convection. You kind of see that somewhat half eye wall. It seems like it's trying to get some dryer opening up in this system right here. That's exactly where I think that dryer is going to be coming from, but it has a rather good half eye wall. Obviously, the eye wall isn't really completely closed, but I mean, it's a pretty decent looking tropical storm here. It's especially for this location where it's at. This is pretty good. 60 miles an hour. I know a lot of people, including the National Hurricane Center, saw a hurricane coming, but really, basically, in my opinion, it seemed like a hurricane was never really likely at all, because I mean, look at the location, look at the speed this thing was moving at, and look how close it was to interacting with land. But you see, it doesn't look shabby. As you see, there's that low pressure right here. Nice low pressure. You're gonna see it's kind of definitely watching if this dryer is coming in from the western part of the storm there, whether it is disturbing it or not. But that's gonna be very, very interesting here, as it could very well become this sign. Maybe it is really starting to fall apart before landfall. But like I said, this could very well possibly maybe drop a couple more millibars, 1 to 3 more millibars before landfall. Like I said, it still could have fire in the tank here. I just wouldn't, obviously not enough at all to have a hurricane. And I wouldn't see this getting over 65 miles an hour. It could be 65 max at this point here. So as you see here, here's the National Hurricane Center latest update, and there are hurricane warnings, like I said, for Belize and the Guatemala coast here, not too far off from the Honduras coast as well. But we do have tropical storm watches for much of the Honduras coast. We do have a ton of hurricane we do have hurricane warnings basically covering over half the Belize coast here, including Belize City, and obviously portions of much of the Guatemala coast here. But we even have tropical storm warnings as far north as Mexico, as well as hurricane watches as far north as southern Mexico. So as you see, pretty widespread area from Mexico there all the way from Honduras. Does seem to have a pretty impactful area, but as you see, the wind field is extremely strong. Extremely weak. It's extremely weak, and it's very, very small. This is basically one of those tropical storms that really struggle the whole life. I mean, this does not look like it's going to be a hurricane whatsoever here, and I hate to say it, the National Hurricane Center, I don't know why y'all were saying hurricane here. So you guys underestimated, and now you're overestimating storms. I see how it is. But I mean, it looks like Jamaica's bigger than this wind field, which is pretty. I mean, that's telling you that this tropical storm definitely isn't large. It's definitely a very small tropical storm. But for this size, 60 miles an hour is pretty good for this size. It's definitely impressive to have 60 miles an hour and something this small here. But still not hurricane worth here. But you see, even the National Hurricane Center finally shows tropical storm here. It's finally getting the tropical storm, or only tropical storms, so I'm glad they aren't showing hurricane anymore, but we still have hurricane warnings because we could be seeing hurricane gust, and as you see, it's going to possibly become a tropical depression by Friday as it goes over the southern Mexican mountains, and then because post-tropical and end up in the eastern Pacific here. Tracks, as you see, going to make a landfall still for possibly southern Belize coast here. Going to go through the Guatemala mountains. These mountains will tear this storm apart, and then it's going to go into the eastern Pacific. So will it become something in the eastern Pacific? It really depends. I mean, it's going to be post-tropical when it comes out back into water. So if it was a tropical depression or tropical storm when it came out in the eastern Pacific, maybe. But now that it's post-tropical, I mean, you'll have to really have a ton of energy to bring it back to life. As you see, the tropical intensity guidance, as you see, we still have a couple, like around 3 models showing that's getting stronger. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't doubt if this does drop a couple millibars and maybe get to 65 miles an hour. But other than that, it's not going to be an impressive change. Could be doing a last minute blow here to strengthen a good bit before, a little bit before it makes landfall. But other than that, as you see, kind of seems like it's going to really weaken. But something interesting is that models are getting it dying and then going possibly back to tropical storm could that be because it goes in the Eastern Pacific? I mean, that happened with Cristobal. We had, I forgot what name storm it was. I believe it was letter B for the Eastern Pacific. It made landfall in Guatemala, died, and then came out as Cristobal in the Bay of Campeche. So, I mean, that's happened already this year. So, I mean, it could be something interesting to watch. But I see a couple models still, so this is not just once it dies. But we have a couple models that stop right before doing it. A couple models getting this to rising a bit. I mean, it's at least five models. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 models there that are showing it's possibly re-strengthening. And that'll be interesting. Definitely not out of the possibility here. So here's a look now at the Northern Atlantic here to see exactly whether the inverts could be anything. But you see, GFS gets it to 998 millibars in 12 hours, and then makes landfall, and then it actually possibly, I mean, dies out in the Eastern Pacific. I mean, you kind of see it does somewhat have a low pressure going in at 1,007 millibars there, still possibly staying in alive a little bit, but then dies out. But the disturbances here we obviously have one right here. I believe that's the one where we do have the 30% chance. That actually says get 1,007 millibars. But look at this. Something really interesting here. Look at all these low pressure. We have 3 low pressures compacted in one little area here. We have I believe this is the one. I'm not sure that's the one with a 60% chance. Actually, go back and scoot back. Okay, this is actually the one. This is the one with the 30% chance right now. And this is the one with the 60% chance. And then I guess we have a new one coming off, I guess. You see, these both go sub 1,007. And then you see that one, the one with 60% chance gets to 1,006. Then we have one with 1,001 that comes off Africa there. And then you see this is kind of be the 2 survivals here. So it seems like based on the GFS, that 30% chance kind of dies out a little bit, or a good bit. But you see this, I guess, a new one that's not even a disturbance right now. I guess with 999 millibars, I believe, just going north. And then we have the one with the 60% chance right now with 1,003 millibars here. This is actually September 8th. Possibly heading towards maybe the land. But you see 3 low pressures right here. I mean, definitely keep in mind, obviously the GFS shouldn't be that strong at all, but definitely keep in mind. Then we have another one coming off Africa at 1,004 millibars, so it seems to be back to back to back. You see, GFS gets this thing up from the 60% chance all the way to the Bahamas, and then we have another one now coming off Bay of the Yucatan Peninsula, and then we have one right there. And see, like, just the GFS is showing so many possibilities here. And then it's just making landfall there for Pensacola or the Florida Panhandle there, but obviously not as named. So the GFS shows a lot of low pressure and a lot of possibilities, just not a lot of them based on the GFS are going to be named or even formed. So let's go check out now what the CMC model shows here, obviously for Nana as well. Let's see actually what they have with the new 12Z model run. So here's look now in the next coming hours. As you see, there's Nana making landfall. There's Tropical Depression 15, so it can be post-tropical. And then we had the 2 low pressures, one there and then one there. Obviously, the one with the 30% chance is there, the one with the 60% chance is off Africa. I see 1,006 millibars there, 1,009, 1,006 once again. And then we have more activity. Actually, CMC shows a lot of low pressure or potential activity in that other areas near southern Morocco. A bit more north than we usually have seen this season there. But I mean, look, so many low pressures that are coming off Africa. We have this one, or that are developing in Africa, let's just say that. I mean, so many possibilities here. I mean, this one does look a little promising based on how it's coming off. But I see a lot of sea storms or fish storms, so you call it here. A lot of fish storms here. Based on these global models. Only really one actually touches land, and that's the one with the 60% chance. So check out the HWRF shows. It goes to 995 millibars. Like I said, it could definitely get dropped a little bit there, central pressure-wise, and it goes back to 995, 994, and it makes landfall there, possibly right there in Belize and Guatemala border coastline. And then obviously possibly, I mean, the HWRF shows it reviving in the Eastern Pacific. Like I said, it's definitely not out of the picture. And here we're going to be checking out the conditions here for these disturbances. Could they actually have favorable conditions or, yeah. But you see, definitely Hannah isn't, or not Hannah, not Hannah, I don't know why I said Hannah, Nana. I guess because they rhymed. Nana. Nana is going through some pretty warm waters here. The thing is, it's interacting with land. That's the really thing. It's interacting with land. So really, that's exactly why it's kind of trying to fall apart. But really watching the MDR a lot. I mean, especially with the model showing so many possibilities in the next just 2 weeks alone. I mean, we already have one, and we already have two right there in the MDR, and then it looks like we have an incoming one that's going to be going out very soon here. So definitely a lot of possibilities in the next 2 weeks for the MDR. So waters, they aren't the most favorable, like right off the coast, but obviously you don't really expect a formation right off the coast of Africa. You kind of expect formation between really right here if they're going to come off that way. But obviously it took Marco that long here, and took Laura this long here. So I mean, it just varies. But you see 27, even 28 degrees Celsius off Africa, and it gradually warms up. Especially, actually, we're starting to see a little bit warmer temperatures now near the equatorial Atlantic here, just north of the equator. We're starting to see 30 degrees Celsius here, and it's exactly why September is the peak, because waters really go to their peak and they're more widespread. So definitely, this is the area for potential possibly invest / maybe even tropical depressions, or even just disturbances alone. And then this is where they really start to thrive right here, whether they come here or here. That's when they start to thrive. But that may be some big possibilities if they're going to go out to sea like that. Obviously, they could get named, but not going to be major storms or anything major to lands, because obviously, not only that, waters are cool, and then obviously there's no land there, or a couple islands. But if they kind of go through this way, that's going to be a bigger threat. There's warmer water. That's where storms really blow up, 31 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius. And obviously there's land as well to get impacted. So guys, I hope you guys did enjoy that weather video here on the Atlantic. And bye guys.